You know that gut punch feeling when you've worked your heart out for something, stayed late, skipped lunches, delivered miracles on impossible deadlines, and then someone swoops in and takes it because of their last name? Yeah, that was me. Hi, I'm Amelia, and welcome to Amelia Voice, where we turn real-life drama into stories that make you gasp, laugh, and sometimes plot imaginary revenge over a cup of coffee. So grab yours because this one? Oh, it's delicious. My boss, Mr. Henson, was one of those family-first types. He ran our marketing firm like a family business, even though none of us were related to him. The man loved talking about loyalty, teamwork, and earning your place, until his nephew Jason showed up one summer with slick hair, a smug grin, and zero clue how to open an Excel file. Jason was one of those people who oozed confidence but couldn't back it up with anything but charm. And for some reason, Mr. Henson thought he was God's gift to business. While the rest of us were sweating deadlines and client calls, Jason was waltzing in late, spilling coffee on his designer sneakers, and talking about networking opportunities that somehow always ended at rooftop bars. I trained him. Yep. Me, the top-performing manager who had single-handedly secured our biggest client last quarter, was suddenly demoted to babysitting duty for the boss's golden boy. I swallowed my pride, smiled through clenched teeth, and told myself it was temporary. Until that one Friday morning meeting when Mr. Henson called everyone into the conference room. My stomach was doing somersaults because I knew it. This was promotion day. I'd been promised the director of marketing position for months. My numbers were unbeatable. My team adored me. I had even helped Jason clean up a pitch he'd messed up so bad, the client almost walked. I was ready. But when Mr. Henson started with, "I'm proud to announce our new director of marketing," I noticed Jason smirking across the table. I swear, in that second, I felt my blood go cold. "Jason Henson," the boss said, beaming like a proud father. The room went silent. Then the awkward clapping started. I sat there frozen, plastering on the kind of smile that hurts your face. Jason got up, shaking hands, thanking everyone like he hadn't been spoon-fed every success. "It's such an honor," he said, looking right at me. "Especially learning from Amelia here. She's been like a mentor. A mentor." I wanted to laugh or scream or both. Mr. Henson didn't even make eye contact with me. He just said, "Amelia, you've done great work, and I know you'll continue to support Jason as we transition." Support Jason as we transition. That was the moment I realized something powerful. Sometimes losing what you wanted isn't a loss, it's a setup. Because little did they know, I had been getting calls. Calls from a rival company that had been quietly watching my success. They weren't just offering me a raise. They wanted me to lead an entire division. And guess who their newest hire was going to be under my leadership? You guessed it, Jason. See, karma doesn't always take her time. Sometimes, she's just waiting for you to pack your desk with a smile. I didn't quit right away. Oh no, that would have been too easy. I played along. I nodded in meetings, offered Jason advice he didn't understand, and smiled when he stumbled over his own slides. Every mistake he made just proved how unqualified he was. Meanwhile, I was signing my new contract, negotiating perks that would make Mr. Henson choke if he ever found out. When I finally walked into his office to resign, he looked genuinely shocked. "You're leaving? Amelia, we were counting on you to help Jason settle in." I tilted my head and smiled. "Don't worry, Mr. Henson, I'll still be helping Jason, just from a slightly different office." He frowned, not getting it yet. "Oh, where are you headed?" "Bright Edge Solutions," I said casually. His jaw tightened. That name meant something. They were our biggest competitor. And funny thing, I added, I just accepted the position of director of marketing. The silence in that room was art. He blinked, processing it. "Director?" he repeated slowly, like the word itself was an insult. "Yes," I said. "And I believe Jason's starting there next month. Under my division." His expression twisted into something between disbelief and fury. "That's not possible," I shrugged. "You'll have to ask him. He signed before I did." I didn't wait for his response. I slid my resignation letter across the desk, smiled sweetly, and said, "Thanks for the mentorship, Mr. Henson." You've been like a role model." And I walked out, leaving him speechless. But oh, the story didn't end there. Jason's first day under my supervision. Let's just say Karma showed up in a tailored suit, and she looked a lot like me. Jason strutted into Bright Edge Solutions like he owned the place. Same smug grin, same overconfident swagger. He didn't even recognize me at first. I was behind my new glass office wall, surrounded by people who actually respected my work. It took him a good 10 seconds of double take to realize the woman whose career he'd casually stepped on back at Henson Marketing was now the one signing his paycheck. The look on his face? Pure cinematic gold. His smile faltered, his steps slowed, and he mouthed, "You?" I smiled sweetly and gestured for him to come in. He stood there awkwardly in my doorway, holding a leather folder like a shield. "Amelia, wow, fancy seeing you here," he stammered. "Small world," I said, leaning back in my chair. "You ready to get started? We've got a lot to do, and I expect big things." The irony was so thick I could practically taste it. The same lines Mr. Henson had used on me, I now tossed back with a perfectly polished grin. Jason sat down, fumbling with his words, trying to act casual. "Yeah, sure. So this is crazy, huh? You're the director here?" "That's right," I said. "Director of Marketing for the entire East Division. I believe you'll be reporting directly to me for the next quarter." His eyes widened, but he tried to recover with a laugh. "Wow, that's awesome!" "Guess I'm lucky, huh?" "Luck," I said slowly, "has a funny way of changing sides." Over the next few weeks, the tables turned so fast Jason barely knew which way was up. Gone were the lazy mornings and networking excuses. Bright Edge didn't play by his uncle's rules. Here, results spoke louder than surnames. And I made sure he learned that the hard way. I assigned him real campaigns, high-stakes clients, and impossible deadlines, the kind I'd once handled with grace while he'd been off taking 2-hour lunches. He floundered. Reports came in late, presentations fell apart, and when clients called to complain, I didn't swoop in to save him. I let him drown in the very ocean he'd once watched me navigate for him. Still, part of me wasn't out for revenge. I wanted to see if there was anything under all that ego, a shred of humility, a spark of real potential. But every time I gave him a chance, he'd slip back into arrogance, bragging about his connections, or how his uncle was still running the biggest firm in the city. One day, during a strategy meeting, he tried to take credit for a project my junior manager had led to success. I watched in silence as he twisted the story, sprinkling in words like "my leadership" and "my vision." When he finished, I leaned forward and said, "Interesting. Jason? So you're saying the design team followed your direction?" "Exactly," he said confidently. "They executed my plan perfectly." I turned to my assistant. "Can you pull up the project file?" She did, and the evidence was undeniable. Jason hadn't even been assigned to that client. His name wasn't anywhere near the strategy documents. The room went dead silent. "Funny," I said softly, "because according to our records, you had no involvement. Maybe next time you'll remember that integrity isn't optional here." His face flushed crimson. The other managers avoided eye contact, but the message was clear. Bright Edge wasn't Henson Marketing. Nepotism didn't buy you protection here. After the meeting, he came to my office, eyes blazing. "You didn't have to embarrass me like that," he snapped. I raised an eyebrow. "Embarrass you?" "Jason, I simply corrected misinformation. If you were telling the truth, you'd have nothing to worry about." "You've been out to get me since day one," he accused. I laughed quietly. "No, Jason. You did that to yourself when you mistook luck for talent." He left in a huff, slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. But that night, as I packed up my bag, I caught sight of him through the window of the conference room, alone, head down, redoing his work. For the first time, I saw something different in his posture. Not arrogance, not entitlement, just exhaustion, and maybe a touch of shame. The next morning, he showed up early. Really early. Coffee in hand, tie straight, laptop open. It caught everyone off guard. Over the next few weeks, Jason started trying, really trying. His pitches improved. His reports were cleaner. He even stayed late without being asked. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And I'll admit, part of me started rooting for him. Still, the past hung between us like a shadow neither of us could ignore. Until one afternoon I got an unexpected call from Mr. Henson himself. His voice was tight, polite, but laced with tension. "Amelia," he said, "I'd like to discuss something. Privately." My heart thudded, not from fear, but from anticipation. The man who once dismissed my worth was now calling me for help. He had no idea that his nephew had already begun to change under my guidance, or that the balance of power had completely shifted. "Of course, Mr. Henson," I said sweetly. "How about lunch tomorrow?" My treat. When I hung up, I smiled to myself. Karma wasn't done yet, and the next chapter was about to be even better. Lunch with Mr. Henson felt like walking into a scene from a movie where the villain suddenly realizes he's not the main character anymore. He chose an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind of place he used to take clients to impress them. I arrived early, calm and composed, wearing confidence like armor. When he walked in, his expression flickered between forced warmth and disbelief. He wasn't used to being the one chasing the meeting. "Amelia," he said, extending his hand with that practiced corporate smile. "You look, well." "I am," I replied, shaking his hand firmly. "You too, I hope." He hesitated before sitting, already uncomfortable. The waiter took our orders, and then came the awkward silence, the kind that stretches just long enough for memories to crawl back in. "I'll get straight to it," he finally said. "I've noticed some of our clients have migrated to Bright Edge, accounts that used to be loyal to us." I nodded, feigning sympathy. "That happens sometimes. Clients follow results." His eyes narrowed. "You've built quite a reputation, haven't you? Word is your team's outperforming ours in nearly every metric." I sipped my drink and smiled faintly. I hire the best people, give them room to grow, and I don't let politics get in the way. That one landed. His jaw twitched. "Look," he said, lowering his voice, "I won't pretend things ended perfectly between us. But I was hoping, perhaps we could collaborate again. Maybe as partners. Partners." The word almost made me laugh. Months ago, I would have given anything for his validation. Now it sounded like an apology wrapped in desperation. "That's flattering," I said lightly. "But I'm happy where I am. Besides, I think our companies have different values." He leaned forward, his tone sharpening. "Different values or different advantages?" "Both," I said. "See, at Bright Edge, hard work matters more than bloodlines." For a second, his mask cracked. "You think Jason's only here because of me?" "I don't think," I said evenly. "I know. But what's funny is, he's finally earning it now." "You should be proud." That caught him off guard. "He's what?" "Working hard," I said. "Late nights, good ideas, fewer excuses. Turns out, when he's not protected by you, he's actually capable." Mr. Henson blinked, clearly uncertain whether to feel insulted or relieved. "So you're saying he's improving under your management?" "I'm saying," I replied, "he's learning the difference between privilege and progress." He studied me quietly, the arrogance slowly fading into something else, respect, maybe even regret. "You've changed," he murmured. "No," I said. "I just stopped apologizing for being good at my job." The rest of lunch was civil, but his silence spoke volumes. He wasn't the unshakable boss I remembered. He was a man realizing the empire he built on favoritism was starting to crumble. As we parted, he said, "If you ever decide to come back—" "I won't," I cut in gently. "But thank you for lunch." Walking out of that restaurant felt like closing a chapter that had haunted me for years. But fate wasn't done weaving its irony, because when I returned to the office, Jason was waiting in my chair. He looked nervous, fiddling with his tie. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice softer than I'd ever heard. "Of course," I said, sitting across from him. He took a deep breath. "I know I was a jerk before. I didn't deserve that promotion. You did. I thought having my uncle's name meant I was important. But working here under you, it's been humbling." I studied him for a moment. There was sincerity in his eyes this time, not the hollow kind, but real accountability. "Jason," I said carefully, "people make mistakes. What matters is what they do next. I want to prove I can stand on my own, he said. Not as Henson's nephew, just Jason. For the first time, I smiled genuinely. Then stop trying to prove it to everyone else. Prove it to yourself. From that day, he did. Slowly but surely, he became someone I could actually rely on. His work improved, his ideas got sharper, and he learned to take criticism without the arrogance. Soon, he was leading his own campaigns, delivering results that made even the toughest clients nod in approval. The transformation was so complete that when corporate started looking for a new regional manager, his name came up, this time because he earned it. And when they asked for my recommendation, I didn't hesitate. I gave it wholeheartedly. A few days later, he knocked on my door, holding the letter in his hand. "You really did that?" he asked quietly. "You think I'm ready?" "I know you are," I said. "And so will everyone else." He smiled, but then frowned slightly. "You're not mad? After everything that happened?" I shook my head. "Jason, sometimes the best revenge isn't payback. It's watching someone become better because of what they learned from you." His eyes softened. "Guess you really were the mentor my uncle said you were." I laughed. "This time, I'll take it as a compliment." What Jason didn't know was that Mr. Henson had called again that morning. This time, not to negotiate, but to ask if his nephew truly deserved the promotion offer BrightEdge had extended. "He does," I told him simply. "You raised a boy who thought he was entitled. We built a man who knows he's capable." And just like that, the circle completed itself. The boss who had underestimated me, the nephew who had replaced me, and me. The woman who walked away, not in defeat, but into the life I actually deserved. But life has a way of throwing one last twist when you least expect it, and that twist was about to arrive wrapped in an offer even I couldn't ignore. It was a quiet Friday evening when the email came through. A subject line so simple it almost didn't catch my attention. Executive opportunity, confidential. I clicked it open, expecting some generic recruiter pitch. But as I read, my pulse quickened. It was from the CEO of BrightEdge's parent company, inviting me to discuss a potential global role, Senior Vice President of Marketing Operations. The kind of job people spent their whole careers chasing. I sat there frozen for a moment, staring at the screen. It wasn't just a promotion. It was a seat at the big table. A chance to steer the company, not just manage a division. And more importantly, it was validation. Not from someone handing me a favor, but from people who had seen me lead, who'd watched me turn an underdog department into the company's highest-performing branch. My first instinct was excitement. My second was fear. Could I handle that level of responsibility? Did I even want to? But then I remembered that version of me sitting in Mr. Henson's conference room months ago, smiling through betrayal, swallowing pride while someone else got the glory. That woman didn't need anyone's permission anymore. She'd earned this moment. I accepted the meeting. The following Monday, I found myself in a sleek boardroom on the 45th floor, surrounded by executives whose names carried weight in the industry. They didn't waste time. "Amelia," the CEO said, leaning forward, "we've been watching your leadership at BrightEdge. Your division's growth has outpaced every projection. You've built something remarkable, and we believe you can do it on a global scale." I held my composure, even as adrenaline buzzed under my skin. "I appreciate that," I said carefully. "What would the role entail?" "You'd oversee all marketing operations across Europe, North America, and Asia," he replied. "We want to unify the brand, and we think you're the person to lead that transformation." It was surreal. Just a year ago, I'd been fighting for recognition under a man who didn't think I belonged in the boardroom. Now that same industry was handing me the keys to it. But there was one catch. "This position," the CEO added, "means relocating to London for at least 2 years." London. A city I'd dreamed of visiting, never mind living in. I smiled faintly. "I'll need to think about it." "Of course," he said. "But don't think too long. We'll be making our decision by the end of the month." The moment I walked out of that building, the world looked sharper. The air tasted different. Freedom mixed with purpose. But the first person I thought about wasn't me. It was Jason. Because accepting this promotion meant leaving Bright Edge and leaving him behind. That afternoon, I called him into my office. He looked anxious, like he could sense the change in the air. "Everything okay?" he asked. I gestured for him to sit. "I need to tell you something, and I'd rather you hear it from me first." "You're leaving," he said immediately, reading my face. "You got a better offer." I nodded slowly. "They want me to take over global operations from London." He leaned back, processing it. For a moment, disappointment clouded his expression, but then he smiled. "You deserve it," he said softly. "You built this place from the ground up. We all knew you wouldn't stay here forever." I smiled back. "You'll be fine, Jason, you're ready," he chuckled. "You sound like my old boss." "I am your boss," I reminded him playfully. "For now." He stood, extending his hand. "Then let me be the first to say it. Congratulations, Amelia." His handshake was firm, confident. No trace of the nervous, entitled kid I'd once met. Just a man who'd learned to earn his place. A week later, at my farewell event, the entire floor gathered to see me off. My team gave speeches, shared memories, and even Jason took the mic. "When I first met Amelia," he said, grinning, "I thought she was just another overachiever. Turns out, she was the person who taught me what achievement actually means. You didn't just lead us, Amelia, you changed us." The applause that followed wasn't polite. It was real. I looked around that room, faces full of respect, admiration, and pride, and realized something profound. Success isn't about titles. It's about impact, about leaving people better than you found them. When I finally boarded that plane to London 2 weeks later, I felt lighter than I had in years. The skyline faded beneath me, but I didn't look back. The future was calling, and this time it was on my terms. But fate loves its irony. Because 6 months into my new role, as I was preparing for a major global campaign, I received a message from my assistant. A new client request just came in. From Henson Marketing Group. Mr. Henson wants to collaborate. I couldn't help but laugh. The universe truly had a sense of humor. I opened the proposal, and there it was. His company name, their logo, and beneath it, a familiar signature. Mr. Henson wanted me to lead his company's rebranding. The same man who once told me I should focus on supporting others was now asking for my help to save his sinking firm. I leaned back in my chair, grinning. "Well," I whispered, "looks like we've come full circle." I clicked accept. Because sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's becoming everything they said you couldn't be and letting them watch while you do it.